Welcome to Out with Dan, the podcast that spotlights and examines the voices of LGBTQ+ authors, characters, and our allies. Together, we lift our voices and we tell our stories. I'm Dan White. Join me as I chat with this week's author. Hello and welcome back to Out with Dan. Today I'm excited to talk to my buddy and friend and hero, Gary Phillips, and we're going to talk about The Haul. Welcome back, Gary.
Thank you, Dan. Thanks for having me back.
Yes, absolutely. So, as I usually start out, give the audience an overview of what The Haul is about.
So, The Haul is a heist novel in the tradition of heist novels, and but it concerns a professional thief named O'Connor. And O'Connor's at a crossroads as these things happen. He's a man of a certain age now, and he's kind of settled in, and he's taken his ill-gotten gains and essentially laundered these monies into legitimate concerns,
as one might do,
as one does, as one might do. So he doesn't need the money. He has a lady love, a partner in his life, and they live in a subdivision in Hemet. And for those of us in the Southern California region, Hemet is in the Riverside County area. It's really Hemet's more of a working class area, but this subdivision is a bit more middle class, I guess we would say, being somewhat sheltered. And in fact, when we first encounter him, he's doing a very middle class thing, very middle-aged middle class thing. He's playing pickleball, couples pickleball, but he gets the call that he's been waiting for, and I should mention that his partner Gwen knows enough about what he does. He doesn't. Yes. She doesn't know every detail. But she does know that he is a thief. She does know that he's not a 9-to-5 guy, and she helps to maintain his cover. Anyway, he gets the call, and it's the, as they say, it's the what is it? The offer you can't resist.
Yes.
From the Godfather, and so he's off to the races. But then in the context of this particular novel, to give it a different flavor. Because Dan, the heist novel really has a 3-act structure, right? It's the setup, the job, and the aftermath, right?
Right.
And really, that's if you look at any heist story, that's kind of what it is. But of course, things have to go wrong, and things have to go south. Now, in O'Connor's case, he's a very meticulous individual, and so he tries to, of course, foresee any possibility of what could go wrong or what might screw up. And of course, he only works with people in the crew that he's worked with before, although in this case, he has to take on our civilian member of the crew, but she's a software engineer. She provides the inside information. But then essentially his past, not to reveal a whole lot, but this is all in the write-up anyway. His past comes back to haunt him, and that's the I suppose the thing that blindsides him, right? That's the one contingency he did not plan for, and then of course though he has to think on his feet and rectify matters. Oh, and I should say the plot involves him and his crew knocking over a swank survival bunker by one of these tech bros. That this tech bro happens to own a basketball team in Inglewood, pro basketball team in Inglewood, and he has several bunkers, but one of his bunkers is below this arena, this new arena. And on opening day, that's when the crew takes it over, figuring that there's going to be a certain amount of cash. The tech bro has secreted away in this bunker.
And I love the fact that the tech bro has a preoccupation with the number 7. Which, for some people, 7 is a completion. And, it's one of these things. And of course, I find that people with little quirks like that, obviously, they have those, people recognize those quirks in them. And of course, Joyner has recognized this quirk in him because she's worked for him.
That's right. She's our software engineer.
Right.
That's right.
And, I love the fact that you always weave in a bit of social commentary into all of your work, which is important. Some people are like, oh, why do authors do that? And I'm like, because it keeps them from having to preach on the street corner is why they do it. Because,
That's right.
there are things that go on in this world. There are inequities and social injustices, and writers get to help, hopefully, right some of those ships.
Hopefully, but
Yeah.
as you point out, Dan, O'Connor is not Mavis. So Mavis has her own reasons for wanting to do
Yes.
this job and essentially get back at the tech bro Palmer. But O'Connor is very pragmatic but even he is in it really not for the money. He's really in it for the challenge, right? It's really in it for, can I do this? It's Michael Jordan, it's Muhammad Ali. Can I do it one more time? Do I still have the juice? Do I still have the gas? Do I still have what it takes to pull it off? And that's the lure. That's the thing that will drag him back in.
So in this book, we have some flashbacks, and we have some almost flash forwards, I guess you would say, from the flashbacks, I guess.
Right.
What about that particular aspect of the story attracted you?
You're right. You know how it is. You always try to think, well, how do I tell this story differently than I've told another story or the previous version? And again, I suppose I'll call it that sports metaphor one more time, which is to say, you try not to be the one trick pony. So I think at this stage of my so-called career, there's a certain ease sometimes that I fall into, right? There's a certain when you're sitting down, you're writing, and sometimes the groove is there, and man, it's just great. It's just great. But then you read it again, and you think, well, I've kind of done that passage before. I've kind of done those, reflections from the character before. Well, what can I do different? And again, how do I challenge myself to tell the story that I want to tell you? This crime drama, this crime fiction, but can I tell it to you in a slightly different way than others have done? And let's be clear. And I freely acknowledge this in the acknowledgments. The late great Donald Westlake, writing as Richard Stark, created a whole series of books about a professional thief character named Parker. And in two of those books, similar to The Hall, the robberies take place at a big public place. One of them is a stadium, sports stadium. In the book is a college football game. When it was adapted into film with Jim Brown of all people, it was the Coliseum here in LA. It was a pro football game. And there's another one where they go into an arena during a rock concert, an old arena. They cut it through the roof. Anyway, but all that to say is that and for this book, because we do have those flashbacks to his childhood, growing up in South Central then, as this kind of kid in and out of foster, not in foster home so much, but more like in foster care system, and sort of the makings of a young thief in terms of the books that he was reading. I thought that would be a great way to kind of give you a little more insight into the character, and we delve a little bit more into his past and what has made him, what has made the boy the man that he is today.
Well, and I like that aspect of it because he is, at the beginning of the book, he's called OC, which was his nickname as a youngster. But we get the feeling that OC has seen a bit of life. Yes. Probably a lot more of life than the average kid would, whether it was his original home life or his group home life. That's or, right. What goes on in his surroundings.
Yes.
And, that is one of the things, and I might have said this already, but it's one of the things that I love about your writing is it is so cinematic and it is so believably Los Angeles. I mean, if people who live here think it's all Hollywood, and Hollywood does influence a lot of it, but there's a lot of non-movie making magic that happens here, and there's a lot of what is it, backroom dealings and stuff.
Right.
And you sort of pulled the wool over, off the eyes, so to speak.
Well,
And I
thank you.
love that. Yeah, I love that because I mean, and you give us a reason to really like O'Connor right from the beginning because you sort of feel sorry for him, but then you realize that all of that shaped him into who he becomes as an
Right.
adult
Yeah.
and a mastermind, truly.
Exactly. And he's certainly, I suppose he's certainly not Robin Hood, but
No, but at the same time though, he's seen enough, Gary, and I suspect this is a reflection on your life as well. You've seen enough of real life to realize that there's good and bad in every human and in every society, and it's about trying to, like I said earlier, right the ship.
Yes.
Yes, he's not as a thief, he's not, that's not an occupation we want to aspire to.
That's right.
However, I get a good kick out of reading The Thief because I don't have the nerve to do what he does,
You ain't kidding, and neither do I, Dan. That's for sure. Neither do I.
I mean, I think that's a great deal of fun of writing. You get to be someone else for a while.
Well, exactly. We get to live in their skin for a little bit of time and kind of see the world the way they see the world. But listen, to O'Connor's credit, he's certainly an antisocial guy in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, he is seeking stability, and if nothing else, he's going to be loyal to his crew. If there is one salient quality about him as a character, you can rely on the fact that O'Connor's not going to let the crew down. And
he's not going to rip them off. Right.
He's not going to rip them off. The share, he tells you straight up front, I get the lion's share because I'm the guy pulling this thing together. But this is your cut, and so be it. You know what I mean? And he does that. And obviously, as we said, things go wrong at certain intervals in the job. But then again, he still seeks to make things right. With those who are in the crew.
So now let's dance a little bit around the spoiler you almost said earlier. So there's a character early on who comes back later in the book, and I was surprised at how well you brought that character back and how I didn't see it coming. I really did not. And I really liked that, Gary. I like, because I do find that as I was talking with a friend of mine the other day, humans are like animals. We run in packs. And you often experience the same people in your life, whether it's the actual same individual or the same personalities throughout your life.
That's right.
And, it's like someone will say to me, oh my gosh, when I met you, I felt an instant connection to you. And that's because I've reminded them of someone else, or we've run in at somewhat part of our past. Yes. But I like the fact that this character comes back and he is as bad now as he was then.
That's right.
Yeah, he has no redeeming qualities, Gary, none whatsoever. And I don't ever want to run into him on the streets anywhere.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
So I did have a little laugh though outside of the hi-hat early on with this particular character. Yeah. This car comes up and stops, and I get so tickled because I think I'm going to make fun of my race. I think white people are so stupid sometimes. They're like those meerkats. They wanted to, what's that noise? Who's shooting? Who's that? I'm just the opposite, Gary. I hear a gunshot, I'm under anything I can get under. I don't care who's shooting. I don't care who's being shot at. I don't want any.
To be fair, Dan, they were kind of coming through. They were
but they stopped.
Trying to get out of there.
Yeah, but I'm like, oh, jeepers. My mom was that way. She was a meerkat. If there was a noise outside, she ran to the window. I'm like, don't run toward the window. You're going to get shot. Don't be stupid.
Down.
Yes, but I love that because, it is, and it could have been a wrong place, wrong time situation.
That's right.
I try to mind my own business when
that's
possible.
Right. I hear. But and not to give too much away, but it is significant who is in the car.
Yes.
Right. Yes. All of our players, not all of our players, but our kind of our main players, our main characters in this play of ours are there present in those opening passages. And though they go their separate ways, you know, fate will sort of pull them back together.
Yes, yes. So so is it Cho or Choi? Cho, right?
Yeah, Bora Cho.
Yeah. So is she someone in your life, or was there someone that's modeled after?
No, not particularly. Not particularly. The real impetus for the character, because this is this flashback to it's 1998. I never say it's 98, but I give a couple of clues as to the specific year. It's 1998. And O'Connor's a kid. He's somewhere, maybe he's 13, 14. And he works in the hi-hat liquor store for the Cho family. But he's somewhat close, and we'll this gets played out later. I'm not giving too much away. He gets kind of close to Mrs. Cho. And it was really a commentary at the time of coming out of 92 and post 92, and part of that friction had been around Black Korean tensions, Koreans as merchants, Black folks as customers, feeling they were getting shortchanged. Koreans weren't hiring locally from the community because they were, you don't make a lot of money in the liquor store, so you're hiring your family, et cetera, et cetera. And so, and then post 92, there was a push, an impetus to a lot of liquor stores were burned during the quote unquote Rodney King riots. But then the idea was to then hopefully give money so that if these stores rebuilt, they could offer more. They could offer more than just gum and candy and booze, but hopefully have some kind of fresh produce. But fresh produce is expensive. Anyway, all that to say is that all that sort of boiled down into Bora Cho and her family that runs the Hi-Hat liquor store, but they have now employed this young man from the community to help just sweep up and this and that. But of course, he plays a more pivotal role, or they each play a more pivotal role in each other's lives.
Yes, and I loved that towards the end. We see Mrs. Cho come back, and it was really well done, Gary. It was very heartfelt.
Oh, good. I appreciate that. And and not to be, and I want to, I mean, they clearly have an affection for one another, but I don't want to overdo it and make it too maudlin and this and that. But hopefully some of that comes through.
It does indeed, and I do know that A Violent Spring dealt with a Korean and a Black issue, and here again,
and that was much more fresh at the time.
Yes, it was. It was. Will Martha Cheney ever make a return?
Well, she has in a way, Dan. There's it's floating around now, but there was an online comic strip I did for Comixology called Cold Hard Cash, and through twists and turns, there is to be a physical, print version of that story, of that mini series that's hopefully will see the light of day in a few months. And other than that, I have been toying with the notion of, at least in short story form, I've done one short story with Martha in the past.
Okay.
Martha Cheney is my ex-showgirl, Cold Cash Courier, who appeared in a couple of earlier novels. I'm at least going to try to hammer out either a short story or a novella with the character soon. Yeah.
Fantastic. And before we started recording, I asked Gary a question because I didn't want to make a mistake. So I said to him, did you do an homage to Harry Ingram, which was from his One Shot Harry series? And I loved that. I got it right. I was very excited about that.
That's right. That's right.
Occasionally I have to brag on myself, Gary.
Exactly. Well, exactly. Of course. Well, it's your show, Dan. As
Right.
it should be. And we won't give too much away, but yes, we will say that there is that homage in the hall. There is that homage to One Shot Harry.
Yeah, and I love that. I mean, that is, as I said earlier, that is one of those seamless things you do that is so well done.
Well,
it is so well done. And then, of course, because of your activism, I saw you brought in a little of that as well from a little crooked cop angle. And I will say that there again, that was something that I didn't really expect. In the fact that I really thought the tech bro was going to be more prevalent in what goes wrong, but it wasn't that. And I was like, wow, that's cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I like you said, you figure out, you try to figure out, well, what's the obvious course, but then what's the, where can we bend that? Where can we take that in a slightly different direction? Because of course, what we want to do is, again, O'Connor is planned for exactly as you just said. He's planned for Palmer Van Oy, the tech bro, to come at them, right? And he wants to plant these false clues and false leads and send them down a different path. So that was the initial plan. And then this other thing happens, right? This other thing that he was not expecting happens. And so then, of course, he has to adjust and he has to course correct and he has to, but O'Connor thinks on his feet. And not for nothing, as we've said, he is very much in the anti-hero mold in the sense that I don't think he is as ruthless or as cold-blooded as some other characters, but he can be. And when he has to sort of switch that on, because it's not only about his survival, he's also thinking about not disrupting this sort of this facade, this other life that maybe will become more his real life if he can get back to it. Let alone, again, as we've said, he's not going to give up the crew. That's not going to happen. So what does he do? How do you handle? Actually, because now we have sort of these twin forces coming at him, and so what does he do?
Yes, and well done. And I feel like we should go to the Crimson Lounge and have a drink, Gary.
That's right. And it goes. I shouldn't say it goes without saying, but I should say to give all history its fair due, there did exist an actual place called the Crimson Lounge. My barber, who's since now passed away, wonderful man, he was the co-owner of the place, and I knew vaguely some stories about the place. It's not quite the place that's in the book, but I knew some stories about the place, and I knew where it was once located. And I tried to, at one point, get him to sit down with me and just I said, look, you don't have to name names. I get it.
Right.
But just talking generalities about, stuff that went down at the Crimson Lounge, but he was a little more circumspect.
Yeah, I think once you've been a bar owner, you become a little hesitant to tell all of the stories you know.
Absolutely.
Because darn well they've got plenty of them to tell.
Exactly. So, but, just armed with just sort of these vague notions and thinking, oh, well, at least I can evoke it in name and give it a sense of what it was at least the thing I thought maybe going on at the old Crimson Lounge with Charlie Mack running the place. So, to give it that flavor in the book.
So is Charlie Mack a complete fabrication on your part, or is it an homage?
Well, it is part homage. There are women I've known over time, not women I went out with, because I'd be scared to go out with a woman like Charlie Mack. But women that I might have known and encountered over time who kind of left those kind of impressions on me. And then again, you're drawing from your well as a fiction writer, sort of putting that all in the mix of creating that kind of character.
I love it. Well, again, the book is called The Haul. It is out now. It's by Gary Phillips. Gary, thank you so much for joining me again.
Well, thank you, Dan. It's always a pleasure, man. It's great.
Thank you for joining me for this week's episode of Out with Dan. You can find more information about this podcast and its host at OutWithDan.com, on Twitter at OutWithDan, and on Instagram and Facebook at GoOutWithDan. This podcast is hosted by Authors on the Air Global Radio Network, and the theme music is provided by bensound.com. Join us again soon for the next episode of Out with Dan.